9 o'clock, and we're just preparing to go live over there on YouTube. Please get you actually, whilst you're over here, it's just you and us on Zoom at the moment. Please get your questions in here tonight. We've got a great lineup considering that it is the public holiday of the Corpus Christi here in Portugal. So thank you. 9 o'clock, and we're just thank you very much, Nuno. Thank you, Daniel. Sarah's in, probably not celebrating Corpus Christi Festival in the UK, but thank you all for being here. We'll have a little mini introductions from you all soon. Just making sure everything's okay over there on YouTube, which it is. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dream Team session. Astrid's here. I'm here. Nuno, Daniel, and Sarah, and others may join us. Nuno, bless you. Sold to you. Is it the smell of the barbecue that made you sneeze there? Good evening to you. How are you?
Thank you. All good, all good. Well, actually, when I put this image, I start thinking, is about the sardines smoke or is about my brain? It's smoke of my brain.
So the smoke is not coming from the sardines, it's coming from your head. With all of your thoughts about concerns about insurance. Okay, this is the hardest working man in Portuguese insurance, and Nuno Mendes Insurance is with us. Go on.
Could be close. And today Camila is also here, so some of you start asking about Camila, and that they don't know Camila, so Camila is here with us.
Muito prazer, Camila. And thank you for being here. Muito obrigado as well for being here this evening. Would you like to say hi and introduce yourself? What is it you do over at Winsurance?
Hello.
Hi
I'm Camila. I am from Brazil, and I'm living here in Lisbon. I arrived last year, so just 1 year here. And I also have Italian citizenship. And I'm working with Nuno 2 or 3 months. I'm not sure, but like that.
A wonderful combination, Brazilian and Italian.
Yeah.
And my commiserations, of course, because I heard in the last couple of days that we lost Astrid Gilberto, a legendary singer of The Girl from Ipanema, of course, who passed away in the last couple of days. What an absolute bonus and blessing she was to the world of music, The Girl from Ipanema, and Astrid Gilberto, who sang that. So thank you, Camila, for being here. Lovely to meet you. Is there anything else you'd like to say this evening? Have you been thank you for being here, given that it's a public holiday as well. Have you been celebrating today?
Oh, just relaxing and enjoying my day with my dog, and that's all.
Oh, okay, excellent. You've got a dog. We have a little pet feature at around 1:30, so you may get a chance to introduce your dog later on this evening. Fantastic.
Okay.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for being here. Nuno, did you have anything else to add from the world of insurance this evening? I mean, presumably it's been a quiet day, given that it's a public holiday in Portugal.
Yes, it was actually not only the day. Actually, it were all of the week, and also tomorrow and next week, at least until Tuesday, because in Lisbon will be the city festivities. Yeah. So it will be holiday in Lisbon. The 13th, it's San Anthony, Dia de Santo Antonio. Right. So we'll be celebrating Lisbon Day. Yeah. Also, we have another holiday in the middle, but no one will realize when it will be Saturday, past tomorrow. It will be it's the 4th of July of the Portuguese, so it's the national day.
Yeah, Portugal Day. Yes, of course, and always unfortunate for Portuguese people, I think, when it falls on a weekend.
Yeah.
It's not a day off.
It's I expecting until Tuesday that nothing much will happen.
Okay, yeah, and I guess really keen-eyed Portuguese workers would have booked today off and will return to work next Wednesday, right, and have a whole holiday all the way through, including some public holidays there as well.
Tuesday, probably Tuesday.
Probably back on Tuesday. Okay, so there you go. Corpus Christi today. Just so you know, for future reference, it's a busy time for holidays and partying in June. Santas Populares in June here in Portugal. We might talk. Actually, that will be my question. Will be related to that. Our final question of the evening to do with partying and festas and national holidays. and a lot of them at the moment. So today, Corpus Christi, Saturday, Portugal Day, as Nuno says, the 4th of July for Portuguese people, not just in Portugal, but all over the world. Portuguese people and people of Portuguese origin are celebrating Portugal Day. And then in Lisbon especially, we have Sant Antonio festivities beginning as well, where, of course, you will experience the sardines that Gilda is having his rest tonight. And in a way, I'm glad. Because whenever sardines are mentioned, people think of that time when she shamed me publicly for how I cooked them. And even today, somebody on Facebook said, I had sardines, and Gilda was right about that. It's just like it's become its own sort of myth and legend about that time Carl got shamed up about cooking sardines. So happy holidays to everybody. Thanks, Nuno. Thanks, Camilla. Let's go to Daniel, who I suspect might be at home rather than working late this evening. Daniel, how are you?
I'm quite all right, thank you. Well, I'm actually in Algarve, and as you were mentioning dogs, I had a dog problem because the dog just ran out, and she was facing another dog, so dog screaming, barking all over the place. Fun moment. But I'll try to bring my pets peacefully to the video at 50:30 when you requested it.
I had no idea that was all kicking off down there in the
It
Algarve.
was. I had it in mute. That's why I ran to just remove the dog from all the action.
Oh, you're such a professional. Fun. You're such a professional. Thank you. So you're having a few days in the Algarve. Glad to hear it. And thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you being here tonight.
My pleasure.
And you know, I always love talking to you about Portuguese politics, but presumably the politicians are on holiday as well at the moment. Anything to report from the exciting world of Portuguese politics in the last few weeks?
Well, there's still the commissions, some ongoing drama, but nothing big at the current moment. It's I think that's the government is slowly but surely surmounting the problems that they had. Let's see if they are able to pass this situation up and stabilize the country in themselves, especially themselves.
Themselves, of course. I was in Portugal, in Portugal's capital, in Lisbon yesterday, and I was looking at some of the political billboards, Daniel. They are savage, aren't they? How the parties and politicians relate to each other.
Yep.
And some of the things you see on the advertising, they are very unkind to each other. Some might say they deserve it, but what's your view on that?
Well, I would say that 5 years ago, that was not the case. You wouldn't see those types of billboards. People would focus on their political program.
Yes.
Nowadays, I think that Portugal is importing a bit of foreign politics in that regard, and they are just instead of talking about their own programs, they're just accusing the other party or the other guy or the other politician. So yeah, you have people that are crooks and people that are normal politicians in the same billboard just to try to pass the same type of message that they are all corrupt. And this is not a proper way to do politics, I think. So it's that's a nasty part of the Portuguese politics that I don't enjoy, to be honest.
No, and like you, many of them are lawyers, aren't they? And you'd think you might think they would think twice about being so brutal towards each other.
Well, when it's considered a political message, you don't have any traction in the courts to try to have a slander case or something like that.
Really?
Because it's considered a political message. Thus, free speech. Thus, you cannot sue, or if you sue, it won't have any procedure. So it's that's why although the majority of politicians in Portugal at least went to law school, they may not be lawyers, but they went to law school. But still, as its political message, it's connected with free speech, and they cannot be basically sued for it unless it's something that is really off the charts. And what I've seen until now, it's, I would say, of bad taste, but it's not considered. At least I don't consider it a crime.
Wow, that's a very interesting insight. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. Anything else to report from the world of law then? You're of course from Reis and Pelicano, law practice in Lisbon. Anything to report from the legal world?
Well, at the current moment, the golden visa and the package mais habitação are still being discussed. I think that the discussion will still be ongoing at least until the end of July. And let's see if this will not pass into it's called the new political year that starts around September, because the parliament enters into recess in August. So The guess that I'm having and a lot of my colleagues is that we won't have any news on this Mais Habitação package that is connected with the Golden Visa until the end of July, and probably we may end up on having this situation sorted out in September or October. But for now, things are being debated in the Commission, so no big news to report at the current moment.
Very interesting. And you make mention there of the recess in August. I mean, that's a national thing in a way, isn't it? So that month is a write-off for any political change. And so if it doesn't happen before then, it probably won't happen until September.
Correct.
Okay.
Even for foreigners, we usually advise, if possible, for the clients that, for instance, want to buy a property in Portugal, they shouldn't come in August because everyone goes on holidays, and it's difficult to book just viewings of houses because either the realtors are on holidays or the homeowners are on holidays. So it's not a good month to come to Portugal to get things done. It's a good month to visit, of course, the weather is beautiful, but I would say it's not the best month to come and get things done. But I love working in August because there's no queues, there's no lines, there's no traffic. It's brilliant. I love working in August. It's something that I long for.
I drove through Chiado yesterday, and it was quite the opposite. And I realized, somebody told me I've got quite an old car, so I might get a fine in the post quite soon. But it might have been worth it. It was beautiful in Chiado yesterday. How old should a vehicle be before it's not allowed in that?
If my memory stands correct, in some areas is 2000, in some others is 2004. So it does depend. There's two radius. One of them is a bit tighter than the other in terms of the date of build of the car. But if you were not stopped by police, I would say that you will not get the ticket back home because they say that they're installing a camera system to detect that. But from my knowledge, from my understanding, it's not yet working. So I don't think that will happen soon.
Love you, Daniel. That's the sort of legal advice we love here from Raisin Pelican.
And if it does, send me an email, scan the ticket, and I will assess if it's worthwhile to contest or not.
There you go. You can find Daniel in the Expats Portugal business directory, and he'll take care of you like that. That is fantastic, Daniel. But it was absolutely wonderful to be in Chiado yesterday. Absolutely loved it. Traffic busy, not like August. And just whilst we're talking about Lisbon, I drove through as it turned out, my navigation took me through all the best parts of Lisbon. I think, Príncipe Real, along the Avenida de Liberdade, and there was seating. Is that for a procession that's upcoming that Nuno was mentioning on Tuesday?
It's for Santos. It's the Santos Day, Sant Antonio. That's the saint of Lisbon, and you'll have what we call marchas populares. And this is dances that occur in the street with people dressed as in the old days. And you have the several neighborhoods facing each other to see who has the best dresses and the best presentation and the best dances. And then one of the neighborhoods will win the prize. So it's somewhat of Rio Carnival in Portuguese style. So it's interesting. And that's why you have the chairs on Avenida da Liberdade, because that will pass throughout Avenida da Liberdade. It will be on TV. So if you turn on TV around 8, 9 on a Tuesday, you will see the Marchas Populares thing going on.
Thank you for that insight into Lisbon life. Nuno wants to add to that, I think, as well.
Will be on Monday, the 12th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Nuno is right. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So the official day is for Monday for the procession. Okay, that's amazing. And then so the dignitaries will be there watching the people come past, and it really is a battle then, by the sound of it, for the best neighborhood to represent.
It is, and they take it serious.
That's
the neighborhoods that participate in it, they take it serious, and because they do spend a good portion out of the year preparing for that specific moment. So it's a fierce battle.
Excellent. We will get to your questions, but I'm loving this insight into Portuguese life, everybody. I mean, we are in holiday mood this evening, and it's great that the Dream Team are here, taking time out of their own personal holidays to be here and answer questions. I'm loving this slightly different atmosphere tonight. I'm finding out about Portuguese culture and what goes on in the capital. Absolutely wonderful. So, yeah, may the best Bairro win then on Monday, as they make their way down the Avenida de Liberdade. And of course, a great time to be in Lisbon and to see this going on. And if you keep going, you'll get to Marcos de Pombal and you'll see the end of the book fair this weekend as well, which I think concludes on Portugal Day as well. So a lovely time to be in Lisbon. The smell of jacaranda trees and blossom is still in the air. I smelt that yesterday myself. Somebody else who might have smelt that is Dr. Michael, who's here from Serenity as well. Are you there, Dr. Michael? Sure.
Yes, I am.
There
How are
he
you
is.
doing?
I'm very well. I had a lovely day in Lisbon yesterday. Is that where you are this evening, enjoying your holiday?
I am enjoying a holiday. No, lovely as well. No, it's raining.
Right.
But you, sir,
Yeah.
coming to Lisbon and whatever, you had some issues with snails, I think.
That's right. In the
Right?
Colombo shopping centre, not Caracoy.
Yeah, but you're not coming for a coffee?
Oh,
Really?
I'm so sorry. Look, can I tell you, and this is another beautiful insight into Portuguese culture. I went for a lunch with, but at the restaurant of José Avilés, the legendary Portuguese chef.
Which one of them?
The Patio Bairro Avilés in Chiado. Superb.
Yeah.
Really good, really good. So I thoroughly recommend that. How's the world of medicine for you at the moment, Dr. Michael?
All quiet. I don't know. People stopped being sick.
Oh, that's
Probably.
good. Excellent.
That's good,
Excellent.
right? They are on vacations. They don't have time to be sick.
Very good. Excellent stuff. And of course, tell us about Serenity, if you wouldn't mind briefly, what it is you do for people.
Of course, we actually do as we do always. Medical concierge services. Everyone that needs any kind of advice, be it a clinical advice or an administrative advice connected to healthcare, we're here to help every day, including Santos Populares, including Dia de Portugal, every day. And practically for if you get dehydrated, if you have food poisoning, I don't think people would have food poisoning from the sardines, but for any case, we're here to assist you with your decisions through this process of getting into Portugal and getting your healthcare transferred to Portugal and assisting you with whatever you need up to a certain moment that you need an ambulance. And then we say, don't call us, just call them. It's quicker.
There you go. There's a man and a team that know the difference between a NIS, a NIF, and an SNS number are going to help you with two of the three of those. Thanks for being here tonight, Dr. Michael, albeit a public holiday. Great to see you. Finally, just in introductions to the team this evening, and we will get to the questions. Hello to Barack, who's in from Texas, Marcia in Canada, Alison and Michael also in Texas, Phyllis in South Florida, Olympia, Washington State. Colleen is over there. Hi, Colleen. And we have questions lining up for Daniel, who I think will deputise in some way for Gilda tonight, who's having a well-earned rest, and also a question for Nuno. But before we go there, let's find out what's going on in the world of currency exchange and how the euro and dollar are battling it out. Sarah Davey, good evening to you.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, no, I mean, unfortunately, last week I came on and obviously had good news that we'd seen a little bit of positivity, certainly for Americans selling US dollars and buying euros. We've seen a little bit of that bounce off in the last couple of days. We had some jobless claims come in from the US, which has weakened the US dollar slightly. The number of Americans filing new claims for employment benefits rose to the highest in about a year and a half. But these figures have been quite volatile week to week. So it's still early days to see whether there is an issue there. So we may actually see the US dollar come back. But I think the key thing I would say to people is that it's never too early really to be speaking to us and looking into this. Always best to be prepared because the exchange rates are fluctuating and are moving. So in a couple of days, buying 250,000 euros, that's a difference of about 2,000 US dollars, which might not seem a lot, but it can be larger. We've seen movements and a difference of 12,000 US dollars or 32,000 US dollars. Wow. And that's just exchange rate movement. So if you're trying to budget for this move and how much it's going to cost you for various different things in your timeframes of 6-12 months, the cost of the move can be very different depending on the exchange rate. And the benefit of opening an account with this, which is free to do so, is that we can just help you monitor the rates so that if there is certain spikes or it moves in your favor, we can be in contact with you, and then you may be able to think, right, okay, maybe I should be buying my euros now in advance of needing them, and making that whole process cheaper. So the more time that you give yourself, the more options that you'll generally have available to you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sarah. So interesting news from the United States, and open your account early. Nunu, did you want to come in there on a bit of currency talk?
Yeah, just a quick question to Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I know that yesterday the market, the euro, at 3 months was decrease, but the 12 months interest rate to euro was increasing. It's happening the same with the dollar.
So what we've seen with the interest rates, last year, obviously the US were increasing them very aggressively, which is where we saw the US dollar strengthen. And they came out saying that they might not be doing that as aggressively this year. But then the euro, in the Eurozone, they were actually going to basically follow what the US did last year and start increasing their interest rates more aggressively, which is where we're seeing that, because a lot of the times where we see market movement is because things are priced in. So it's not necessarily, sometimes they're pricing in things that are going to happen in the future. So when it happens, things might not change. So there's a lot to consider when you look at the exchange rate and what moves the market. Sometimes it's not always data that's coming out, it's speculation, it's forecasting, and it's even just comments. So for example, after interest rate announcements, everyone really looks at what's the Christine Lagarde, what are they saying after the meeting as to what's the sentiment, and that moves the market. So there's a lot to consider sometimes when it's not just straightforward, if that makes sense, when you look at how the market's moving and what moves it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that question, Nunu. Thank you for your answer, Sarah. A nice thumbs up from Nunu there. So let's get into the questions now. Question to Daniel from Mehmet, who's got some great value this evening from Expats Portugal. In a nutshell, we expect to be eligible to apply for citizenship after 5 years. And of course, you handle citizenships for people, Daniel. And you mentioned that it can take roughly 2 to 3 years to obtain citizenship.
Correct. Yes.
Question one, is there any option to apply for such permanent residency up until we receive our citizenship?
Well, the applicant can indeed apply for residency, the permanent residency, as long as he is living in Portugal. So that's totally all right and totally possible. And that permanent residency permit is valid for 5 years. So that is the usual advice for the clients that are living in Portugal, that they should indeed apply for the permanent residency card. Otherwise, there would be again in the gray zone in that area that you're not a Portuguese citizen yet, but you're not a foreign legal residing here in the country. So indeed, permanent residency card is the way to go. This is something that we usually do not advise the clients to request unless they need to enter Schengen space at a minute's notice. For instance, for US clients, as they have the Schengen visa waiver, it's quite easy for them to enter the Schengen space if they need it. But for a South African client or for a Chinese client, for instance, if they need to enter Portugal while they are waiting for their nationality, having a permanent residency card may be quite handy. So it depends quite a lot on the situation, if the client is indeed living in Portugal or not. If they are living in Portugal, definitely request the permanent residency cards for you to be legal here in the country. Otherwise, just waiting for the nationality doesn't make a client legal. That's the basic bottom line.
Nice distinctions there. Thank you very much. And a great question there from Mehmet on that. A question two then, is there such permanent residence option? Can we, I think you've addressed this in many ways, let's say move to the Netherlands and live there for another 3 years and move somewhere else freely? Or should we have to wait for citizenship for that freedom? That's a good question, isn't it? So at the end of the 2 and 3 year sections, and in anticipation of becoming a Portuguese citizen, would it make sense to go elsewhere? Would that be possible in the EU space?
It is possible, but the client will need to assess what are the terms and conditions of fixating residency in the Netherlands. So having a permanent residency card doesn't allow you to live in the Netherlands. So a permanent residency card in Portugal allows you to travel all out the Schengen space as a tourist, so you can stay up until 90 days in the Netherlands, then move to Italy and stay 90 days, and then to Germany and so on and so forth, as long as you don't exceed the 90 days. But if the client wants to fixate the residency in the Netherlands, he needs to request a residency permit over there and fulfill the criteria, the legal criteria in the Netherlands that may be a bit different from the Portuguese criteria. It is a stepping stone, of course, just to have the permanent residency permit and just move to the Netherlands, but still a residency permit will need to be requested over there. But I don't see any problems with having the 5 years elapsed, kickstart the nationality procedure and then move to some other country. There's a lot of our clients that do that. That's not problematic at all. And they can just wait for the nationality to be issued while they are waiting in any other country, either the nationality country or any other country that they decide to fixate residency.
Very good. Thank you for that, Daniel. Great question, Mehmet. And one of the presuppositions there is that the citizenship is taking 2 to 3 years. Is that still the case, Daniel? Is there any light at the end of that tunnel? Still the same?
No, it is. It's still the same, and we're not seeing any positive increases on that. So it's not foreseen that the situation will get better, to be honest. So do account with 3 years to obtain the Portuguese nationality, because it is the expected time frame that we have at the moment.
Okay, and CEF can't be blamed for that, can they? That particular
no, that one is not on the back of CEF. Although once you request the Portuguese nationality, the civil registry here does need to do some information requests within the legal authorities. And one of the authorities is usually CEF. And CEF does the accounting of the time. How many years did that person have a residency permit in Portugal? Did they fulfill the criteria of 5 years? And from my perception, from the questions that I've done to people in the registry, CEF is usually the authority that takes longer to reply.
Oh, okay.
So
it is them then. Okay.
They still have a bit of the blame for the time that the process takes to be solved. Yeah.
Oh, bless them. All roads lead back to them, don't they? And it is unfortunate, isn't it? Because I think when you work for an authority that receives so much criticism, the problem with that, of course, is that people can give up. So we do need to have a little bit of a thought of love and compassion, I think, for CEF, don't we? Because otherwise they'll just be resigned and resentful, and there will be no light at the end of the tunnel. And hopefully the reorganization will help with that, Daniel.
Well, I'm hopeful that with this new authority that is going to be created, or that exists already in paper, but that will be operating in a few months, hopefully around October, that the CEF situation will improve. My perspective is that CEF employees are underpaid, and they are not motivated because there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. They know that they will keep their jobs, they won't be fired, but they may be moved to some other branch in the Portuguese state. So there's a lot of turmoil on that, and I do understand their frustration. I fully do. And what's been happening with the Portuguese minimum wage is that the minimum wage, fortunately, has been increasing substantially in the last 10-15 years. But the problem with this is that the mid-range salaries in the public sector were not increased. Around 20 to 25 years ago, an inspector from CEF or from the Polícia Judiciária, our investigative police, would earn minimum as a starting point 5 times the minimum wage. Now they earn around twice that, and this does not motivate people to proceed with their careers or even to go into the public service, because they know that they will not be paid or compensated properly. And even the progression in the careers has been stalled for quite a long time. So they are indeed unmotivated, and I do understand the reasons that they are unmotivated, but this creates havoc for people and for clients and for foreigners that want to establish themselves here in Portugal. That's a harsh reality.
I do understand that, but that's a really helpful insight into what's actually going on behind the scenes. So thank you for that. And we, human to human, we should perhaps spare a thought and be a little bit more compassionate to those people, rather than just, having the difficulties and resentments that people tend to have. And it's a set piece, isn't it? It's like, blaming the other people and the bad service and everything. And something is lost in the human to human connection with that. So thank you for that, Daniel. Appreciate that. Let's stay with you because Alison has a question for you about estate law and wills. We have learned about the EU directive. Look at this, very specific, 650/2012, that we can stipulate to select our estates to be administered under the US succession law instead of the Portuguese law. We're about to have our wills drawn up in the United States, and we wonder if we need to have our US will stating the selection and if it needs to have particular wording, or should we have the stipulation drawn into our Portuguese wills after we get our residency permits? Is there a specialist firm that we should consult with, Daniel? You know about this stuff, don't you?
Yes. my advice is to indeed have the US will and cover all the US estate over there. And if the clients do intend to buy property in Portugal, they should mention or to cover that specific portion as well of the property here in Portugal. It should be mentioned in the US will. The recommendation here in Portugal is to have what we call an international will. We have discussed this before in other talks, and this is basically a will done in Portugal to avoid the Portuguese law being applicable, just to avoid any type of doubts that the clients may wish to have the Portuguese law applicable. I always state that if possible, avoid the Portuguese law to be applicable, have the country of origin to be applied, because usually people are a bit more comfortable with it. The heirs will be comfortable with having the law from the country of passport to be applied. So that's the usual advice that I have. And this international will is something that we can do in our law firm. It's something that basically states clearly that the Portuguese law is not to be applicable, and it should be the country of passport, either the US or any other country.
But the main point here is to make the connection. Don't ignore it. Make sure that there is some clear path in the unfortunate circumstance we're talking about. Obviously, there.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's basically the international will avoids any future problems of what law is to be applicable, and avoids applying the Portuguese law. That's the main bottom line.
Brilliant. Thank you, Daniel, very much. Let's go to Sarah now. This is it might be difficult to comment on this, Sarah, but an interesting point from Barak. I heard Germany is going into a recession. I think that's official, isn't it? So is that going to cause the euro to drop a bit in strength towards the US dollar? Speculation, but you may have a view on that, of course, from your experience, Sarah.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's already happened. So when I came on last week, that's why one of the reasons why we saw the rate improve for Americans buying euros is that Germany had entered into recession, which had caused the euro to weaken slightly. So we have actually already seen that. As I said, just because we've had some data come out more recently, which has affected the US dollar. So that's what I'm saying, there's quite a lot of things can happen that can fluctuate the exchange rates. The general trend really for selling US dollars and buying euros is actually going generally against you, but there may be peaks and troughs throughout the way when there's different data and things coming out. But no one's got a crystal ball, but it's always worthwhile for us to help keep you up to date with what's going on at all times. And as I said, the key thing always is, because markets can move very quickly, it could suddenly move in your favor, and it might not stay there for very long. But at least if you're ready to go, you're ready to buy those euros, because often some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, I haven't got a Portuguese account set up, I've got nowhere to send the euros. That's not a problem. We can hold euros on account free of charge for people if they did want to do that. So there's lots of options available, but it's just keeping your eye on what's going on, and that's essentially our job.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah, responding to Barak's comment there about the German recession. Let's go to Nunu now. I'm traveling to Portugal next week and we'll be there a month from the 15th of June to the 14th of July. Just contacted your office about getting travel insurance. How long will that take to set up, please? Well, that could be Camilla or Nunu this evening.
Camilla, do you want to answer?
So basically the question then, Camilla, is traveling to Portugal next week and we'll be there a month from the 15th of June to the 14th of July. Just contacted your office about getting travel insurance. How long does it take to get that set up with coverage? Nunu, putting you on the spot there, Camilla.
Go, Nunu.
Nicely done. It's like a Benfica attack, passing the ball around, or should I say sporting in Nunu's case?
Yeah. 1 or 2 days.
1 or 2 days.
1 or 2 billable days. Yes, it's easy and quick.
Very good. There you go, Colleen. Nice and easy there. Fantastic. There was a question earlier on from Hafiz. I hope I got your name right there. Question for Jacqueline. So this will be about mortgages regarding financing of property. Is there a bank which will allow the loan term to be based on the age of the younger spouse? I am 71 and my wife is 60. Ideally would like for the loan term to be stretched to 15 years to age 75 based on her age. Jacqueline isn't actually here tonight.
I am.
You are?
Sorry.
Where did you suddenly come from, Jacqueline? That
From
was
Rio.
Magic. From Rio, of course you did. Hello, good evening to you. Hola, boa noite.
Boa noite, tudo bem?
Oh,
Sorry.
great to see you.
I got really...
That was like a Pink Panther movie when you jump out from behind a wardrobe.
I'm happy I could bring in some entertainment for tonight. But
thank you very much.
Yeah,
so how about
my pleasure.
That question, Jacqueline. Lovely to see you here. Welcome.
I'm getting warm from it. It's still very tropical here. Anyway, so yeah, to come back to, sorry, what was the name of who asked the question? Hafiz.
Yeah.
Okay, Hafiz. So yes, there are banks that do this so that we look at the youngest person. It has to do a little bit about the income equation as well. So that need to make sense. But please send me an email and I'll talk to you in private and see what we can do. That's one. And second, we also have a bank that's offering mortgages up to the age of 80. It's not very common. Most banks want you to have the mortgage paid off by the age of 75.
Yeah.
The fact that you can have it until the age of 80 would then maybe also create some possibilities there.
Very
for
good.
Hafiz and his partner.
With the way some things are going with real estate in the world, they'll be offering mortgages up to the age of 200, won't they? So give people a chance to pay them off. Hopefully AI and advances in medicine will be able to help with that as well. Jacqueline, what's going on in the world of mortgages then? Lovely to have you here tonight, live from Rio.
Well, I think the question was just popped in. It was a beautiful start. So everything's still peachy in Rio. I'm still here. Let's say that's an interesting one, that it's very recent that they changed this policy and it's not a common thing. So not all the banks are doing it right now. So it's good to speak to us and we can introduce you to the right one. Brilliant. So that's an interesting one. Another one that is very relevant. So everyone probably kind of knows that the market rates are going up, especially Euribor, which is the market base rate that the banks use to quote a mortgage to you. You can actually change, well, that's also something interesting, your existing mortgage product over to another lender with a fixed rate, which means that I've had clients who's all of a sudden were very negatively surprised by the fact that their variable rate was adjusted to the current market rate, which then meant their mortgage payments all of a sudden shot through the roof. And we have an option to fix it where the bank is even going to pay for the transfer of the mortgage to them, and they will pay for all the costs and they will pay for the cancellation fee of the existing mortgage, which up to 0.5%. So that's a few solutions that are out there for clients. So if anyone is already having a mortgage and they're getting anxious or nervous or seeing actually their payments go up, we can help them get a new one with another bank and maybe even extend the term. In all senses, the conditions will be better. And you can have the peace of mind and sleep at night knowing that you won't have a surprise all of a sudden that your mortgage just went shot through the roof all of a sudden.
Very good. Solution focused. Jacqueline Mullen there from mortgagedirectsl.com. And Hafiz, the email address you want is on the screen there. Any problems at all connecting with Jacqueline, just drop us a line. admin@expatsportugal.com. Excellent to see you, Jacqueline. Sorry I overlooked you before.
No, no, but I wasn't there, so it's not you.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
You're not losing it. You're losing your marbles. You're not getting blind. I just jumped into the meeting 2 minutes ago.
I don't need to talk to Dr. Michael then. Apart from my increased heart rate when you suddenly said, I am.
Sorry. Carl, I hope no negative consequences for your health for me popping in like that.
You'll be hearing from my lawyer if they are. That's Daniel Reyes, of course, on the screen.
I know him too, so
conflict of interest. Yikes. Okay, all right.
Because of you guys. That's how we met, of course.
Let's go to YouTube. Great to see you, Jacqueline. A question from Patricia over on YouTube. Hi, when we get a refusal letter, how can we know if the rejection is from the embassy or CEF? So this is probably for Daniel tonight. Does parecer desfavorável dos serviços competentes mean it's from CEF, or could it still be the embassy?
Well, it's usually CEF, that parecer desfavorável dos serviços competentes it's usually from SEF, but it can be from other authorities. Like, for instance, the Secret Information Services here in Portugal, if they do find something that they're not happy with, they can issue a no-go in terms of the visa. But it should be well motivated. So the what is stated in the refusal of the visa should be well motivated. If it's not well motivated, then the decision can be contested. And I would say that the applicant will win if he does contest it. And you have two levels of contesting the decision of refusal of a visa. The first one is within the consulate and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and this is still an administrative contestation. And the second one is going to court. So the public decisions or the administrative decisions that are produced by any public authority in Portugal need to be motivated. And when I say motivated, is to have a written description of the facts and why they decided to not concede the visa. If this is not the case, then it's legally possible to overthrow the decision, and it's something that we do usually advise clients to contest, because it's the majority of times you can win the decision. Even in some situations of the criminal record, for instance, when people do have a criminal record for something that happened in 20 or 30 years ago, but the majority of countries in the world, they will not erase the criminal record. But in Portugal, this is the case. After 5 years, your criminal record, unless it's a very serious offense, will be erased. And when I say serious offense, it's usually things connected with sexual assault or very serious violence. If it's a normal crime like a DUI or even burglary, things that are considered not really serious offenses, they will be erased after 5 years of the public record, the record that will allow you to obtain a job. So the criminal record that you go into the Cidadão and request it. They will be in the court system, though. The court system will always have your prior convictions, because if you do commit another crime, it's good to have that information just to demonstrate that that person has indeed a tendency to commit crimes. But all this to say that it's usually useful to contest the visas, especially in criminal record situations, because it's possible to overthrow the decision and to flip that around into a decision that is a positive one in terms of obtaining the visa.
That's great, Daniel. And in principle, as a generality, coming back to the first part in relation to Patricia's question, if we appeal within 10 days and the rejection is from SEF, not the embassy, how long does it take to get a final decision after the appeal, generally speaking?
Well, it should be 60 working days, which is around 3 months, but I've seen situations of more towards 4 months than 3 months. So consider an interval between 3 to 4 months.
That's an interesting distinction, working days and calendar months there. Thank you for making that clear as well. Yeah. Okay.
We do have an awkward way of accounting deadlines in Portugal. The deadlines to reply and to contests. If it's connected with administrative deadlines, it's working days. If it's normal deadlines, it's not working days. So it's for SEF situations, it's usually 60 working days.
Oh, I see. So if it's your tax bill, it's calendar days, and if it's a government decision, it's working days. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it's a strange situation. I would say that the best way to have this would be calendar days for every type of deadline.
Yes.
Just two different systems. It creates a mess. It creates errors, and I don't understand the reason why. To be honest, it's just something that is annoying. As a lawyer, when I need to just calculate the deadline, I'm always on the conservative side, and I always calculate it as if it was non-working days.
Very good. I think Nuno has his suspicions about why it might be like that, but we won't draw him on that right now. Thank you, Patricia, for your question. And another for you, Daniel, in deputizing tonight for Gilda, very well too. In 24 months, how many months exactly can a person be outside Portugal? Or Daniel, if you're here tonight. Obrigado, says Mr. S.
Well, for 24 months, what the law states is that it may not be out of Portugal 6 months in a row. So this is something that you shouldn't do, or 8 months in total. So the law basically what states is that either you, in the period of 2 years, you shouldn't be out more than 8 months if you're coming and going. So let's say four months in the first year and 4 months in the second year, or 6 months at a row in the duration of the residency permit. That's basically the what's stated in the Portuguese law. But in some specific situations, we've seen the following case, that if the person is able to justify the reason that they went abroad, let's say that they had a medical urgency with family members and they needed to attend to that family situation, this is totally justifiable within CEF's situation. So even if you do spend more time out, if there's a valid reason and you have documents for it, then you will be able to justify this within CEF.
Great, thank you. That's your answer there, Mr. S, with some additional insight and input from Daniel there. That's brilliant. Thank you, Pedro Ribeiro, for your input about the festivals in Lisbon. And Dr. Michael, let's bring you back in. Most specialists don't accept private health insurance. Maybe none, I suspect. That's not true, is it, Dr. Michael?
No, most specialists, it depends where. Most private big hospitals would work with the vast majority of private insurers here. Small clinics might not accept all insurances or insurances in general. But I would not say that the vast majority of experts do not accept insurances here. This would be a wrong statement.
Right, Mr. S, I thought so. And while we're with you, from Noor, a question for Dr. Michael. Is the SNS the same as the UTENT number, or are they different?
They are exactly the same.
Yes, just another one of those little confusions there. So SNS and UTENT are the same, but not to be confused with NIS or NIF, other acronyms that you will encounter invariably in Portuguese life. Thank you, Michael. Did you want to add to that about this point of most specialists not accepting private health insurance, Nuno? I imagine you want to add to that.
Hi. So, no, as Michael said, there is no rule that some specialists don't accept health insurance. What happened is that there are in Portugal mainly five big healthcare networks, and each of the healthcare network do agreements with hospitals, private doctors, private nurses, and so on. One point that often makes confusion is that the hospital can have an agreement with the healthcare network, but a specific doctor doesn't have he or she doesn't have agreement with that healthcare network. But there are no rules. Actually, all of the private hospitals have agreements with all of the healthcare networks. So the healthcare network is not a factor of decision regarding which health insurance buy.
Brilliant.
Also, prepare that. Don't strange. It's if you start using a doctor that has agreement with one of the healthcare networks and suddenly stop the agreement and has no agreement with that healthcare network anymore. And the reverse also happen. A specific doctor doesn't have an agreement and suddenly start being part of the healthcare network. So see, this has something dynamic, but there is no rule that specialists are not integrated on the healthcare networks. Is not true.
Thanks, Nunu. Mr. S saying, yes, Nunu, the clinics accept the insurance, but the doctors don't. Exactly as you have stated. Thank you, Mr. S, for that. Let's stay with you for Colleen. Nunu, follow-up question for you. I understand travel insurance covers more emergency situations and repatriation. Can it also include regular medical insurance while abroad? My US health insurance doesn't cover me overseas. So what can Colleen do with sort of regular medical treatment outside of repatriation and the emergency situations?
Okay, so regarding the travel insurance, we need to see carefully the cover of medical expenses, because medical expenses on travel insurance usually is for sudden illness or medical expenses due to an accident abroad.
Yeah.
Okay. There are travel insurance policies that are more comprehensive and other ones that are more restrictive. For example, to comply with the requirements to access to the visa or to the visa process, I consider that it's not a comprehensive travel insurance, but people usually see this insurance as an obligation. So, and because it's mandatory, they just want the easiest and the cheapest plan. Okay, but if someone besides the process to the visa also plans to travel around the world, we will propose a comprehensive insurance policy, a different one. So depending on the situation, and this is why we don't like and we don't have quotas on our social media or website, is because we need to understand which is the particular situation of each people. So on this.
Yeah. And as convenient as that might be for people to get a quote online, it can't possibly address individual circumstances, can it? It will be an aggregating system designed as a marketing tool to get business. Whereas with insurance, you're going to get some proper personal coverage and an understanding of you as a client. That's fantastic, Nunu. Thank you very much for that. We've got a couple more questions that are probably best suited to Daniel, and then I'm going to ask you my question of the evening on this public holiday here in Portugal. I'm going to ask each of the panel which is their favorite Portuguese holiday or festival of the year. I think Nunu's given us a big clue already behind him. Ubi's here, Vicky's here. Thank you all for being here. Oh, and we've got Square Eyes. So for you, Daniel, can I enter on a D7 and while there apply for citizenship via ancestry in parallel? So can you do these parallel processes? So you can. Okay.
Not a problem at all. One doesn't stop the other. So having the D7 while you are requesting a nationality via ancestry is totally possible. No problems with that. And they are two separate processes in two separate entities. And it's all good. Green light on that.
Very good. And Michelle was asking as well on YouTube, my paternal grandmother is of Portuguese descent. Where should I start to try to get citizenship? I will be visiting Portugal in November. With you or with EI, right, Daniel?
Usually citizenship is dealt with us or at RP. So do drop us an email. Basically, the citizenship via the grandfather has some nuances, but do explain your case. And depending on the country where you're living, what we're seeing with a lot of people that had their grandparents migrating to the US is that once the Portuguese person arrived there, they ended up obtaining the US nationality and changing the name to something that sounded a bit more English. So Pedro became a Peter and so on and so forth. And this creates a lot of havoc into proving the ancestry, because you need to demonstrate clearly that the Portuguese person that you claim that is your grandfather with a paper trail. And this is where sometimes nationality processes do get stalled. So having the correct paper trail in terms of the ancestry with the names all lining out is really relevant. So drop us an email and we can discuss the case.
Very good. Couple more quickies for you then. Question to Daniel from Psych NP in the USA. After 5 years of temporary residence, can you apply directly to citizenship, or you need to apply to permanent residency first? You kind of cover this in a way, but it could be either.
I did. Well, if the client wants to live in Portugal, he needs to request a permanent residency card. So right. One thing is that I would like to point out is obtaining the Portuguese nationality is totally optional. No one is, the Portuguese authorities will not put a gun into your head and say, well, now you need to be Portuguese. Now you need to bear with the slow public services with a smile and just grin it as a Portuguese citizen. So this will not happen. If you want to be a foreigner living in Portugal for the rest of your life, you're more than, it's more than possible to do so. Just keep on renewing the permanent residency card every 5 years. And you'll meet a CEF every 5 years. If you want to face CEF and want to be a fully fledged Portuguese citizen, by all means, request a Portuguese citizenship. But as I said, it's optional. And having the permanent residency card, if the client is living in Portugal, is something highly recommended, because otherwise you will not have the possibility of traveling inside the Schengen space. And with all, in all reality, you will be an illegal alien living in Portugal. So the migration status, until you obtain your Portuguese birth certificate, is highly relevant. And the way to have that sorted out is to have the permanent residency card while you are waiting for the Portuguese nationality. If you move abroad, you will need the permanent residency card here.
Very good. Thank you so much, Daniel. To your question, Jen, I suggest a conversation with EI. If you can't meet the fiscal requirement of the D7, talk to EI about other options. You'll find them in the business directory at expatsportugal.com. Ubi says, by the way, I especially like Dr. Averbuk, and I'm looking forward to Serenity's services. Nice validation there. You also say you've got a Magic 8 Ball, with which I always consult for my investment and currency trade analyses and decisions. If I may say so, I probably put those decisions in the safer hands of Spartan FX this evening. Sarah, I'm sure you would agree with me. Let's go to you then for the final question of the evening. We've only got 2 minutes to go, really. Thank you, Dream Team, for being here on a public holiday here in Portugal. And thank you for your excellent answers to all these fantastic questions tonight. Let's start with Sarah, who probably can't answer the question, what is your favorite Portuguese festa or holiday? Have you experienced any of them over here yet, Sarah?
Yes, because I was actually in Lisbon last year at this time when this festival was on Monday, because all the chairs were out and sort of streets are blocked off, and there was suddenly a parade down the centre. I hadn't a clue what was going on. I didn't actually realise when I
did Jerry and I have the presence of mind to say we laid it on specially for you, Sarah?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. And so that's your favourite, or kind of your only one and your favourite one, but you'll have to come and enjoy some more.
Absolutely. When I was in, I missed it when I came in February, but the carnival was obviously happens in February. And I was saying to people, always like the Rio carnival, but of course, people were saying that it actually did originate in Portugal, the carnival.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, that's brilliant. I'm looking forward to trying other festivals here. Thank you so much. I'm sure you are, and looking forward to being here in Lisbon and Portugal more and enjoying other kinds of festivals, which you can choose throughout the year to attend. And thank you for being here tonight, Sarah. Great to see you. SpartanFX.co.uk. Open up your free currency account over there. It started in Portugal, Jacqueline Moonen. We should go to you, Nick, shouldn't we, really? What's your favourite Portuguese holiday?
I was gonna go with the carnival. I want to see it actually. So I've seen it in Rio. I've seen it in my country. I've seen it in Spain. So I'll make a list of it to do carnival around the world and see. And it's a Catholic thing. Come on, the Portuguese can't just claim it that they own it. It's something that the Catholics bring with them everywhere they go. Okay, well, it's yours. Well, there's one thing so I'm gonna do a different answer to the question. There's a holiday coming up, and I just Googled it because I thought, like, is there any funny holiday that you have? So it's on the 12th of June in the Alfama district of Lisbon.
All right.
And it's about, you don't know about it, so I'm sharing something new. Wonderful. The tradition celebrates the story of how a fish rose out of the sea to listen to the 13th century saint when the locals wouldn't. And Saint Anthony, so that's the funny part, Anthony, is also known as the matchmaker saint. So women fill their mouths with water until they hear a man's name mentioned, while men offer women basil plants and love poems. I want to be part of that. So anyone who's in Portugal, I can't make it next next week.
Get
But
your Baz already. Okay.
I don't know what's more challenging, keeping water in your mouth or trying to seduce women with poems. But anyway, yeah,
Well,
it's
yes, there are
sardine.
many willing to find out, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
the best time to do that will be next week in Lisbon. Brilliant, Jacqueline. Excellent.
I thought
Thank you for being with us tonight.
I'll make a note of it to be there next year.
Should we ask
See
Dr.
you guys.
Michael? Should we ask Dr. Michael if that's his favorite and where he's going next week in Lisbon?
Well, actually, not because we're about this one, but yeah, the first time that I saw it was last year. The atmosphere on the streets is quite amazing. Everybody's out, everybody's having fun, everybody's drinking beer, it's like it's really a festive mood all around you, which is quite interesting. Many other celebrations are more family and all good. This one, when everybody's out on the street and there's a lot of smoke and sardine smells, fits me.
Don't go wrong. Fantastic. Dr. Michael, thank you very much for being here. Find Serenity too in the Expats Portugal business directory. Nuno, the visual is there really. We're getting a lot of love, aren't we, for Sant Antonio tonight?
Yes, so I have a straight bond with this day. So this day is really special to me. So it's my favorite festivity. Also, St. Anthony, it's called the
patron saint.
Casamenteiro. Casamenteiro is the one who bless marriages. So
matchmaker.
The matchmaker.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
So also on the festivities plan of the city, there are a special time, I believe that is on the 12th also. I don't know if it's 12 or 13. This event that the city hall promotes the marriage among, I don't know, 20 couples or so. And you can see this on the TV also. So it's not only about the sardines, is a little bit more, because St. Anthony was known for his actions in Italy, but he born in Lisbon. Actually, they say that if we visit in Alfama the church of St. Anthony, there are a room which they say that was where St. Anthony born. So it is.
Yes, because the Italians do claim him, don't they, of Antonio of Padua as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's the same. He's the same guy. Okay.
Same guy. Thank you, Nuno, for that.
Nevertheless, we are only talking about Lisbon, but this is not a Lisbon festivity. There are other locations that celebrate their festivity in this day, and I believe that the one that is more fun, I never been there, is the Porto, and they celebrate the St. John the 23rd of June, and then in Coimbra they celebrate the St. Peter on the 28th. So it starts in Lisbon, go to Porto, and then ends in Coimbra. So
lots of opportunities to party and say your prayers, right? And here in San Martino de Porto, you think it would be about San Martino. It is about St. Anthony. I have an azulejo of Sant Antonio outside my door. He is a patron saint of little children and lost things as well. Quite the guy, celebrating him. Finally, thank you, Nuno, for that. Finally then, with Daniel, are you celebrating in the Algarve a particular saint? Which is your favorite, Daniel?
It's St. Antonio, the patron from Lisbon. So that's the one. Yeah, I do like to be in Lisbon at the time, but these past few years, I take the opportunity because you usually have 2 holidays, public holidays at a row. So if you take 2 days in holidays, you'll have an extended almost a week out. So that's what I did, and I haven't been to St. Antonio, I would say, in the last 6 years because of that, because I came to Algarve. But well, it is what it is. I'll celebrate it here.
Have a wonderful time. You had a little microphone mishap earlier on. Barak, no, it's absolutely fine. The reason I mention it is because Barak was saying, I hope your politics isn't heading in the same direction as it is over here, referring to Texas.
I said Shega.
You said Shega, and I just want to point out that wasn't a political choice necessarily. You were talking to the dog, right? No, to the dog.
Not at all. Not at all. It was just a lapse from my end, so I'm sorry. I did write a message on the chat window, and it was not a political stance or message, and I'm far from Shega now with the political stance.
I thought you might like to put that straight. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Sarah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Michael, Nunu, and Daniel, thank you so much. Let's conclude with, and sorry, it's 6 minutes over, everybody, but what a fantastic insight into the public holidays here. Thank you all for being here. Astrid, over to you. Oh, we're just waiting for an unmute there.
Thank you everyone for coming. I'm impressed with the amount of people here for a public holiday. Oh, yes. Well done. That's it. We're here again next week for another Dream Team session, or if you want to join us a little bit earlier at 7:30, we've got a buying a car webinar about car ownership here in Portugal, and our host for that is, well, not our host, our guest is Jerry. And that's it. That's it for me.
See you then. Thank you. Happy holidays, one and all. Have a great few days ahead of here, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Take care and bye for now.